They're the ones who cut through confusion and say, here's the plan. The ones who turn chaos into structure and ideas into measurable results. They're not interested in endless theory. They want systems that work. This is the power of extraverted thinking, or T. T users are the commanders, organizers, and implementers. They focus on efficiency, structure, and external order. But what exactly is T? How does it look in different personality types? And why does it matter so much in how the world runs? Let's break it down. What is extraverted thinking? Extraverted thinking is a judging function. It's about how you make decisions. While introverted thinking, T, looks inward for logical consistency, T looks outward, focusing on objective facts, systems, and results. T asks, what's the fastest way to achieve this goal? What do the numbers say? How can we organize this to make it more efficient? It values productivity, clarity, and measurable outcomes over subjective feelings or untested theories. Core traits of T: efficiency first. Streamlines processes to get things done quickly. Goal-oriented, always focused on external results and outcomes. Structured thinking, breaks down projects into clear steps. Direct communication, clear, blunt, and straightforward. Practical decision-making, chooses what works in reality, not just what sounds good in theory. To others, T users can seem bossy or demanding, but to them, they're just being logical and effective. How T behaves in different types. Dominant T types, ENTJ and ESTJ. For ENTJs and ESTJs, T is in the driver's seat. Their lives are built around efficiency, results, and getting things done. ENTJ story. Picture a startup team arguing over vague ideas for hours. The ENTJ slams their notebook shut and says, "Enough, here's the plan." Within minutes, they've drawn up a timeline, assigned responsibilities, and outlined the end goal. Everyone now has a clear direction. That's T in action, taking scattered talk and turning it into a roadmap. ESTJ story. At a school event, chaos breaks out because volunteers didn't follow the schedule. The ESTJ steps in, clipboard in hand, and reorganizes everything. Who's handling tickets, who's serving food, who's running cleanup. In half an hour, the event is running like a machine again. That's dominant T, making order out of disorder. 2. Auxiliary T types, INTJ and ISTJ. For these types, T is second in command, supporting their dominant introverted functions, Ni for INTJs, Psi for ISTJs. INTJ story. An INTJ researcher sees long-term trends in climate data, NE. But they don't stop at the vision. They use T to design a structured proposal for renewable energy, complete with timelines, funding models, and policy suggestions. Ni imagines the future, T makes it actionable. ISTJ story. An ISTJ librarian remembers decades of how the system has worked, SI. But when the database crashes, they use T to methodically design a new cataloging system. They set up workflows, rules, and backup procedures so it never fails again. Their T takes stored knowledge and organizes it for long-term stability. 3. Tertiary T types, ENFP and ENTP. For Ni-dominant types, T shows up as bursts of structure. Normally free-flowing and spontaneous, ENFPs and ENTPs can suddenly become highly efficient when they're inspired. ENFP story. An ENFP writer spends weeks chasing story ideas. Then, when inspiration hits, they sit down and channel T, creating a chapter outline, a writing schedule, and a publishing plan. Friends are shocked. Wait, you're organized now? That's tertiary to balancing N with focus. ENTP story. An ENTP marketing consultant generates 20 wild campaign ideas in a single meeting. But then their T kicks in. They run quick data comparisons, eliminate the unrealistic ones, and zero in on the top 2. Within hours, the client has a workable plan. Ni throws sparks, T turns them into fire. 4. Inferior T types. INFP and ISFP. For Phi and C dominant types, T is their weakest function. It often feels like a struggle, but under pressure, it emerges. INFP story. An INFP musician lives for inspiration and meaning, Phi. But when they get signed to a record label, Deadlines force them into T mode. They make spreadsheets for song releases, budget their studio hours, and set weekly goals. It feels unnatural, but it keeps their art alive in the real world. ISFP story. An ISFP artist is preparing their first gallery showing. Normally guided by feeling and creativity, they suddenly become detail-obsessed, arranging pieces in order, checking measurements, and mapping the exhibit flow. Their T steps in, not for fun, but to make sure their vision is presented flawlessly. T in real life at work. The T user is the one building schedules, delegating tasks, and driving results. They thrive in management, business, law, engineering, and any role where structure is key. In relationships, they value clarity and directness. They'll tell you what they think, sometimes too bluntly, but at least you never have to guess. In crisis, T users stay calm, break down the problem into steps, and quickly assign roles. In daily life, they're the ones making lists, creating spreadsheets, organizing group trips, or optimizing routines. Strengths and weaknesses of T strengths. Highly organized and productive. Strong leadership skills. Practical and results-oriented. Great at delegating and managing resources. Weaknesses. Can be impatient or overly controlling. May dismiss feelings as irrational. Risk of focusing so much on results that they miss nuance. Can come across as harsh or bossy. Why to matters. Extraverted thinking is the engine that keeps the world running. It's the function that takes ideas and turns them into action. It makes systems efficient, businesses profitable, and teams productive. Where T perfects an internal framework, T says, let's get it out there and see if it works. T matters because it gives society structure. It builds governments, legal systems, and organizations. It keeps projects moving forward when others stall. It transforms dreams into reality with deadlines, blueprints, and measurable results. Examples: an ENTJ general organizing troops with precision. An ESTJ project manager keeping a massive construction job on schedule. An INTJ innovator who not only envisions the future, but uses T to build it piece by piece. Without T, we'd have endless ideas, feelings, and theories, but no systems to make them real. Extraverted thinking is the commander of MBTI. It doesn't just dream, it executes. It doesn't just talk, it delivers. So if you lead with T, own your ability to bring order to chaos. And if you know a T user, understand that their bluntness isn't coldness, it's their way of driving progress forward. Because when T is at its best, it's the function that builds bridges, creates systems, and makes things happen. Drop your personality type in the comments, and let's compare how T shows up in your life. And if you enjoyed this, check out our next video, Introverted Feeling, Phi, Explained, the Heart of MBTI.